free. And therefore, the approach Government of India has taken is to expect from chartered accountants to enable and to help in greater formalization of the Indian economy. The core essentials of chartered accountancy, you also realize competency in technology-driven keeping of accounts is now becoming more essential. Good evening to all of you. To the office bearers of the Institute and to all the members, thank you very much for having me here. If your president, right? Chairman, doesn't mistake me, I'd like to certainly put this forward. Initially, I think the organizers wanted me just for an interaction with you. He's had a change of mind. He says, come address my people. So I address you. No, you don't have to apologize. I'm just saying, for good or bad, he wants me to address you. See, I'll take it from the way Honorable Prime Minister spoke to you all. Was it in 2019? 17, is it? When he addressed all over the country chartered accountants, reminding and drawing a parallel with the freedom movement, where at that time, during the freedom movement, a lot of lawyers had left their profession, gave up very lucrative professions, and fought for the political freedom of India. And I distinctly remember Honorable Prime Minister saying, it is now the time, marking 75th anniversary of India, which was getting closer then, that the chartered accountants, you don't have to give your life or you don't have to, give up your profession, but you have a very big role in building the economic strength of India. That was the larger message that the Prime Minister wanted to give, and that stands very relevant even today. More relevant today because he's also set this very clear target, and I'm not saying ambitious, a very clear target of Viksit Bharat by 2047. I didn't say ambitious because I think it is achievable. It is well within the power and the ability of Indians who have seen once in a century pandemic, a complete lockdown for 3 months, post that a partial lockdown, each state had its own partly opening, partly not opening, some areas getting locked down and the rest of the state being open. So thorough disruption. Moratorium for companies so that they don't go into liquidation. Extension of especially sovereign guaranteed loans. And you were keeping the books balanced even in this kind of a disruptive environment. And post that, you're also seeing your own clients recovering from their difficulties. You're giving them advice about how the opening up actually is seeing a lot of newer developments, the kind of reforms which the government has taken, ease of doing business, which is now benefiting. Like chartered accountants, for instance, I'm sure your headache about your clients' income tax details, not that your client is not wanting to give details, not that you don't want to do a fair job of it, but when pre-filled forms come from the board, the CBDT, you breathe a sense of relief, and your client also says, oh my God, yes, I did forget this one, yes, it has to be included. Or he says, no, this is not mine, please go back and check it out. So there is a lot of trust coming in this whole exercise, where the government trusts taxpayers, wants to take them on board to say, look, this is what we are finding in our system, something which pertains to you, a fixed deposit which you've forgotten. You realize not just for tax purpose, even your money, you want to go and pick it up. So like that, once these kind of technology-driven, trust-enriching steps which are being taken by the government, you as a professional realize that technology is doing good to you and to the client. Of course, it is doing good to the government. So as we progress with the core essentials of chartered accountancy, you also realize competency in technology-driven keeping of accounts is now becoming more essential. It is actually being tailored for every individual to file his return on his own. And for small businesses, in fact, I remember the first year of my becoming finance ministry, part of the finance ministry, there was thorough hatred. My God, your profession would want to be chopping my neck off. I didn't mind because I can understand. We wanted the small companies to be free to do their own because the technology is there for you to fill up your own. And if the government was to give the message that we believe in you, you file your tax returns, you don't need to be certifying, a chartered accountant need not be certifying your accounts. It made their life simple. It wasn't to deny anybody their professional earning. It does bring in a lot of sense of ease for a very small business, because everything that you in your professional knowledge would tell him, do this and not do that. If you do this, there's an advantage. If you do that, there's not so much of it. Is all now being done by technology. Of course, it can't be for medium-sized or large companies. The complications, the layers, the calibration, the more studied way of handling it, where you can be advised to plan your portfolios in such a way that you have better savings. There, of course, it is essential. So like that, technology was used to bring in greater ease for both the assessee and for the professionals who are advising their clients. And so is it with GST. Now with the tribunals getting formed, I'm sure many of your little doubts, disputes, all will get solved in each of the states at the state level itself. Free. And therefore, the approach Government of India has taken is to expect from chartered accountants to enable and to help in greater formalization of the Indian economy. We need more people to get onto the system. You can't remain in the shadow of the system, flourish there, but have occasional interaction with those who are in the formal system itself. So you can't really be surviving only being out of the system and functioning, saying I have nothing to do with the taxation, I'm too small, I'll remain out of taxation. I can continue with that. You can continue like that, nobody's stopping you, there's no force. But the benefits you, your business and the Indian economy can reap will be very limited. So the more you are able to interact with businesses which are small and who still remain in the informal, there is a need to build awareness to say don't fear getting onto the formal system, because the normal fear is once I come there I'll have to pay tax. It's not just for paying tax. You may end up not paying tax at all even after coming onto the formal. You're coming on because you can reap the benefit of this open big world into which a lot of people are coming on board. So that is one thing I would certainly elaborate, drawing from what Prime Minister spoke to you all. And that is absolutely now critical, because if by 2047 we want to leave an India for our future generations, for our children, for our grandchildren, to be happy and proud to live here. Today, people are going out for jobs. It is probably the reverse migration has started in the global sense. A lot of people are finding businesses, professions, career to be built in India, who have a global footprint as well. I would think that is a very good beginning to make, but by 2047, ideally, India should be a country which is worth for our grandchildren to stay and live and lead their lives and contribute to the country, rather than run away from here because opportunities, job satisfaction, career enhancement are better there and not here. That is where I think you have a very big role to play, not just with your profession, but also with your clients. Periodically also inform them about the improvements which are happening in the system, not just use of technology, but also the way in which professions are widening, the opportunities that are coming before us. So as an opening statement, I leave it there, but I'm sure there's a lot more to talk about how Government of India has been very actively engaging with several countries for mutual recognition, so that chartered accountants from India are recognized as professionals in other countries as well. But before I say this, one other thing which, like the pre-filled form comes for the tax assessee, I want to say there has been a very enthusiastic forward movement in the advanced pricing agreements that we're doing. So at least global trade doesn't have to be worried about what implication, tax implication they'll have to bear. Now I think nearly 14 or 15 of them already have been signed. So these are practices through which companies are able to have certainty in taxation, as a result of which doing in India, taxation, government policy can all be on a firm, predictable, stable footing, as opposed to a time when we went back to doing retrospective tax, much to the dislike of the global community and for Indians themselves, because it sends a kind of fear saying, how backward would you go? So Prime Minister Modi and the government have been very progressive, future looking, the mutual agreements or the advanced pricing are all going to help in the simplification of the tax assessee's approach towards taxation. So I'll stop here. Of course, if there's anything more, you can always talk. Thank you.